So AVCON is Adelaide's anime and video game festival. It's held every July here at the convention centre in town. And if you're into video games, odds are one of the main reasons you're here, outside of obviously speedrunning, is the indie games room. It's not too dissimilar from something like PAX Rising at PAX Oz in Melbourne.
So I guess it's a smaller version, much smaller version, cheaper version for developers, and a much more, I feel like accessible area for people to play games, for developers to interact with people playing their games, and obviously free within the huge convention hall that we've got here. There's no charge for developers to show their games here, so they just got to put an application in. But also because I think it's a smaller convention, and that room is so devoted to indie games, so they're not fighting for your attention against Horizon Zero Dawn or God of War. You know, like everyone's not lining up for hours to see those huge games. If you're here, you're either seeing retro games or you're seeing indie games. So Nintendo's got a small presence here, but most of it is for indie games. So they've got that prime real estate, I guess. They are the reason, if you're into video games, to come to AVCON, is the indie games.
This year I had the opportunity to check out a few different games in the indie games room. One of the first ones that I checked out was Gambare. It is a soccer strategy game, which is, there's strategy in soccer, I guess. I don't really know how sports works, but it's not too dissimilar from something like a Final Fantasy Tactics or like a Fire Emblem, pretty much, except you're playing soccer.
So it's a tactical RPG soccer game that basically Final Fantasy Tactics meets soccer, and like with any other RPG, you can level up and equip new items, learn abilities, all that kind of stuff. So the main influence was Captain Tsubasa, which was one of my favorite animes when I was a kid. And there are some games that come from that anime, and so this copies a bit of the mechanics, but also other games like the Blitzball minigame in Final Fantasy X. Some from the Inazuma 11 games from level 5. So those three would be the main influences. So it's releasing next week on Steam on Thursday. It'll be on consoles by the end of the year, hopefully, depending on whether I have time to finish it or not. And they can find it on Steam just searching for Gambare Super Strikers.
So Cardboard Keep have developed a few games that we've covered here on New Game Plus. They've covered Warden, they've covered Puzzle Poppers. It was at the Unite showcase last year. At AVCON, they're showing off Witch Thief, which is a sort of 3D bullet hell game, and it has quite a few different sort of like inspirations or works that have inspired what you're seeing on show here.
So Witch Thief is a zany 3D bullet hell where you play a snarky witch on a quest to steal all the magic she possibly can. Naturally, people don't want to give up their magic, so you got to dodge, duck and weave to steal the magic that you want from them. So my two most core influences for Witch Thief would be the Toho series and Legend of Zelda. So you'll see that the camera is much more traditional Legend of Zelda behind the shoulder, and yet the bullet storm is hectic, flying around, much more like your traditional Japanese bullet hell style game. What I'm really excited this time at AVCON and in the future cons I'll be going to is lots of new characters, lots of new dialogue and interaction between them, as well as a brand new weapon system that shows how you can use different kinds of weapons, maybe a slow heavy laser or a rapid firing fireball barrage to try and overcome your opponents, about how you enjoy playing the game.
So I don't get to play as many puzzle games as I'd like, but fortunately Quest has me covered at the Indie Games Room. It sort of takes advantage of the hiragana, katakana, those character systems, or character sets rather, from Japanese, and turns it into a cute sort of puzzle game that gets you learning those characters if you're not familiar with them already.
Quest is a cross between Dominoes and a Match 3 game, but it teaches you how to read Japanese. Quest has two difficulty curves hitting the player simultaneously. They have the difficulty curve of the kana that they have to learn, and then they have the difficulty curve of the game itself. Most educational games, they're essentially just pop quizzes. Like, they just give you a question and you have to figure out the answer, whereas Quest is not that. It's a game that incidentally uses Japanese letters as the puzzle pieces. And as a result, the player gets hit with a whole bunch to learn straight away. Generally, though, I try to make it as forgiving onto the player as possible, increasing the opportunity of the player to just accidentally learn the thing. It's okay if the player forgets, they can just double tap the tile, learn the pronunciation again, it's cool. And after a while, they will learn it, and they do, because it's far easier to just memorize the dang tile and just like, oh, that's a car. I know what that is. I can do this level quickly now. We're definitely releasing on Steam. It'll be for Mac, iOS, Android. Time window, we're hoping by the end of this year or early next year, so summer.